Hello everybody, my name is Davis and welcome back to another video, and today we are here starting a brand new series where I'm going to generate a random tornado outbreak and then we're going to make a full documentary on it in this video. This is part one of what I'm expecting to be a very long series because obviously there's an infinite number of random tornado outbreaks that there are to talk about, so let's go ahead and get right into it, generating it. Alright, so here we go you guys. What we're going to do is click this button that says surprise me, and it's going to give us a random tornado outbreak day, okay? So it's going to say something like this, for example, May 5th, 1960. That's not our actual date, but it's going to say something like that, and then we're going to find out what the tornado outbreak was like that day. So I'm going to go and click surprise me here, and we'll see what we get. May 1st, 1967. All right, let's get into it. On May 1st, 1967, a widespread disastrous tornado outbreak occurred across portions of the southern United States. Today, we're going to be talking about all the significant tornadoes that happened in that event. Now, let's go ahead and start off by talking about the Mitty, Louisiana tornado. Okay, now this was a high-end EF3 tornado that tore through portions of west central Louisiana. All right, it did end up causing 2 injuries. Its max width was about 750 yards here, and its path length was about 5.2 miles, right? Okay, so basically, as you can see, it started out here closer to the North Carpenters Bridge Road here, and then it crossed over Cooley Road, continued to head northeast, crossed over Dave Smith Road a couple of times here, and then eventually it even crossed over Highway 26 here, which is a major highway off to the southeast of Mitty. This continued. It went over Baggett Road, 10 Mile Road, and then it crossed Scott Road even. Now, the silver lining about this tornado is it could have been much, much worse, but luckily it did not tear through a populated area at all. As you can see, it was going over pretty much rural country once again out here in west central Louisiana. Again, the closest town that this got to hitting was Mitty. All right, Mitty did make a miss from this tornado, though it did not get directly impacted, luckily. Again, this was a very strong tornado that did end up happening in the evening time hours of May 1st, right? So, again, very strong tornado, probably the most significant of the event. I will say, for an F3 tornado, it did not track very long. It only tracked, again, about 5.2 miles. Typically, F3 tornadoes, track 20 miles about, okay? So, it wasn't as bad as it could have been once again, but again, still a very strong tornado. A tornado to remember for sure. Next up, let's go ahead and talk about the Onalaska, Texas tornado. Now, this was a high-end F2 tornado that struck downtown Onalaska at about 3 p.m. This did end up injuring 2. Its path length was about 8 miles. Its path width was about 67 yards. Now, unlike the Mitty, Louisiana tornado, the problem with this tornado is that it did end up tearing through downtown portions of Onalaska, right? Crossed over Phillips Road. It did end up going over Impala Drive here. Then it went over Parkview Drive, continued towards Whisperwood Drive, and then eventually crossed the lake here, paralleled Highway 190, and then eventually tore through a little neighborhood out here on the eastern portion of Onalaska, unfortunately, and it continued. All right, again, this was a decently long tracking tornado. It tracked about 8 miles, which is close to standard for an F2 tornado. Maybe a little short tracking. It went over Sandy Dale, and then ended up going over the CM Hardy Lane, and then eventually its track stopped around the Farm to Market Road 350 here. So, pretty interesting story about the Onalaska, Texas tornado. Once again, it was one of the bigger ones of the outbreak. And finally, let's go ahead and talk about the Kaplan, Louisiana tornado. All right, now, this was a similar situation to the Onalaska, Texas tornado. This happened to touch down, unfortunately, in a very populated region here. Again, the town of Kaplan is not small, all right? As you can see, it's a pretty big town out here, actually, in south central Louisiana. And because of that, this tornado did end up injuring 4. And another reason for that is actually because this struck in the late nighttime hours, all right? It was about 11:40 p.m. It was dark out, right? Nobody could see it. Nobody took the precautionary actions that they should have been because in 1967, those weren't quite as well established as they are now. So, obviously, the Kaplan tornado was just a combination of bad things that happened here. Right? It touched down a populated area. It was late at night. Nobody knew what to do with a tornado this size back then. But overall, honestly, this outbreak could have been worse, all right? We're going to give you a wider view of this here. These were all the tornadoes that did occur in this tornado outbreak. Now, in total, there were 9 injuries from this tornado outbreak, 15 tornadoes touched down. But I want to let you guys know something. This was a part of a much bigger outbreak, actually. This was one day of an outbreak, in fact. This was the April 31st to May 2nd, 1967 tornado outbreak, and while this day doesn't look super significant, The day after this, there was an F4 tornado that touched down, and that was obviously the most deadly of the event, all right? But if we're just looking at the May 1st date in particular, we can see that it wasn't anything crazy. There's a reason why nobody remembers this tornado outbreak as anything super significant, and that's because it wasn't, all right? The Deep South gets, tornado outbreaks like this multiple times a year even, so, harping on a random time that it happened back in 1967 is obviously a little strange. I will say some of our other more significant tornadoes from this event included the tornado near New Braunfels, Texas that got rated F2, the tornado near Houston that got rated F2, the tornado down in southeastern Mississippi that got rated F2, and the tornado up in northwestern Mississippi near the town of Pace that got rated F2. Okay, so those are the tornadoes of May 1st, 1967. If you guys did enjoy this video, please do be sure to like and subscribe. If you want me to do this again, I would love to. I think this is a really fun and unique concept for a video. Now, luckily, this one stayed a little bit more lighthearted because there were no fatalities from this outbreak anywhere. All right, at least on May 1st. Okay, so anyway, we're going to end off the video here. Thank you all for watching. Once again, see you guys next time. Peace.